We are here to do our big Pokemon Presents 2025 prediction.
Yes, this thing is coming Thursday.
Oh, yeah.
Very early in the morning for us, 6 a.m. Pacific.
Whew,
wow.
early.
But yes, as is the tradition,
Yeah.
they'll be packing this thing with Pokemon news. And it's interesting because the last year was more of a quiet year for Pokemon kind of retooling, maybe reloading. So it is interesting to think about, like, well, with a year to kind of get its feet under itself again, what might we see?
That's right. Yeah, it's an interesting time for them. They're kind of, they're in between a couple of big announcements. Like, for example, that Switch 2 Nintendo Direct hasn't happened yet, but we know the system is coming this year. What does that mean for Pokemon? You're right, they have been pretty quiet for the last year, which is great. I think they need time to sort of reset and just get back on track, because I don't think anyone was super happy with what had happened with Scarlet and Violet. We're also a year shy of the bigger year, which is next year. Next year is the 30th anniversary of Pokemon.
True.
And also 10 years since they've been doing Pokemon Day.
Pokemon Day, yes.
So that's a huge anniversary for them. So that could have some implications as well as to, like, are they maybe holding back some stuff for next year?
Great realization that we had the other day is that next year is the 30th anniversary, big milestone. When it comes to Nintendo, we sometimes talk about how they're kind of hit or miss with anniversaries. Maybe they don't take it as seriously as fans would like. I think Pokemon's the opposite.
Total opposite.
I mean, the reason they started Pokemon Day was to celebrate the 20th anniversary of the release. So when you think about maybe some very big long-term announcements that they might be making, it's like, well, if we could do it on the 29th, we might as well hold it and do it on the 30th.
Because it doesn't matter to them right now. They'd rather hold it for, like, the big nostalgia, like
for a long-term
nostalgia bomb versus it being like just throwaway.
One more thing. And I think that's an important thing to keep in mind also is, comparing these to Nintendo Direct. Nintendo Direct can be very long. It can be like 40 minutes. I went back, I just jotted down the length of the last couple of Pokemon Presents. Last year, 13 minutes. The year before, 25 minutes. That was longer, but we had Scarlet and Violet. There was a lot to talk about. 2022, 14 minutes. 2021, 20 minutes. So there's only so much you can jam into something that, is 20 minutes, maybe less. So I think if we think of, like, the laundry list of things that could potentially be in it, it's good to be a bit realistic and say, well, the way they approach these, it's a little different. You're going to get the nostalgia play, you're going to get the big update on the mobile games and all the stuff they got there, and then, maybe we got one more thing.
Yeah.
That whole laundry list is probably not going to happen. They do also sometimes do a Pokemon Presents in the summer, in August. And they've got so much stuff going on, it's like, we don't have to put it all in one place. We can spread this out.
The thing with them, too, is, like, there's people that care about different aspects of Pokemon. Like, you and I care really deeply about the games, obviously, because we grew up, and that's how we, really became Pokemon fans, is through playing the games on Game Boy or a Nintendo platform. But for other people, it might be the cards, it might be the show, it might be, all sorts of other stuff.
Yes.
And they need to include all of that into a very compact, between a 12 and a 25-minute Pokemon Present. So it's very different than how a Nintendo Direct is, where it's it's going to be all games coming to a Nintendo platform. So the timing you get for, like, the game part of it, the stuff that you and I really care about, might be like 3 minutes out of that 15 minutes.
It's true. This year I think it'll be a bit longer. But why don't we go ahead and just get into these? I want to start with something that is maybe a little bit hard to make sense of. Like, is this important? Is this not? The year of Eevee.
I have that on mine too, so let's talk about the year of Eevee.
At the start of the year, Pokemon Company went out and pronounced 2025 is the year of Eevee.
Yeah.
At the time, it was mostly a merch tie-in.
Exactly.
But we've seen, like, we've had the year of Luigi, and Sega tried to do the year of Shadow the Hedgehog.
Yeah.
So it's like, we need to make sense of, like, is this a big deal, or is it a bit more muted?
Yeah. At first, when they proclaimed as such, it did feel like a bit of a muted merch play. Like, I mean, Eevee, I think, is probably one of their, like, more marquee characters. Like, there's a
recognizable,
sort of a
beloved,
like a pantheon of Pokemon characters.
Yes.
Eevee is probably on that pantheon, I would say.
Wake me up when we get the Year of Machamp, please.
I know, you're not interested in this at all. But I do think in this Pokemon Presents, though, we will get a little bit more than just the merch. I think we do get some updates related to Eevee in some of the existing Pokemon games. Like we might get, there's already Eevee in Pokemon Unite, but we might get more Eevee-related things in a game like Pokemon Unite. We might get Eevee-related things in a Pokemon TCG Pocket. There might be like Eevee packs or something like that makes it special. I think like Cafe, the Cafe Remix game.
Yeah.
That could be like a big Eevee play. Like easy ways to integrate in Eevee. I think they will do it. But I don't think it's going to be like, here's the standalone Eevee game.
Yes.
Like, here's the standalone Eevee something XY, fill in the blank. I don't think it's going to be
I'm on the same wavelength as you.
Yeah.
Which makes me wonder why they even went to make this proclamation at all. But I think there'll be more merch because it does seem to be a merch-led thing.
Yeah.
And then, however they can tie it into these kind of ongoing mobile games where they just need these kind of constant pushes.
Like content drops.
And renewal and content drops. That's an easy thing to just slot right in and make a big deal out of that and bring people back in. And I agree. But as far as like the big news that maybe we're hoping for, like I don't think it really.
We're not getting like the Eevee movie or something like that.
I don't see it being big in that sort of sense.
I do see them making like a fun like Eevee trailer though.
Oh, sure.
Like a cute,
That
they're
cute.
so good at that.
Yeah,
like the cute, like branded, maybe there's some nostalgia put into
It's evolving,
that.
whoa.
Very cute.
Yeah.
You got all the Eevee
What's your favorite Eeveelution?
You got all the little,
yes.
their whole thematic this year is some sort of hot air balloon. I've seen that everywhere.
Oh,
so I imagine like some sort of thematic with that. It could be very cute.
Yeah.
Who doesn't love Eevee? Eevee is adorable.
Yeah.
Eevee's
Okay.
adorable.
What else you got here?
Let's talk about Pokemon ZA, yeah?
Oh, sure. Let's go right to that.
Let's go right to that, because I think that's what I care about
Yes.
the most, and I'm very curious about what you think is
Sure.
going to be in here, because, like we were talking about off the top, they're in a weird time where, obviously they've announced this game, and then Switch 2 was announced, and then that Direct hasn't happened, the April Direct hasn't happened yet. We don't yet know what platform this game is going to be on.
Well,
there's some questions about
Nintendo
ZA.
did reconfirm that it is coming for original Switch, but you're right. There's a lot of questions that we need confirmation on post Switch 2 Direct in April.
Right.
I think a lot of it hinges on this backwards compatibility question, which is, is it just going to run the game the same way it would on an original Switch? Is there am I paying for some $10 for some patch to give me the next gen experience on a Switch 1 game? Without that answer, I don't really know. I'm not confident in saying there will be a Switch 2 version, because they may not need to have that.
Right.
So
it's a little disappointing if so, though, because it's such a late gen Switch 1 game.
Well,
I'm still going to play it, obviously.
We may not be able to tell.
You may not be able to tell.
Look at like a PS4 game versus a PS5, a late PS4 versus early PS5.
It could be like the Ghost of Tsushima.
A lot of those games were very close.
Right. It could be one of those.
But
yeah.
So again, I don't see them really getting into that conversation around the platform.
I don't think
they're
so,
just coming for a Nintendo Switch, and it's and if there's more to say in April, Nintendo, and they'll do that together.
That's what I was thinking too.
I do think they have a big goal for their. So I think this is going to be like the big chunk of the Presents.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because we know this game is coming, and I think they have a real goal in mind of rebuilding the fans' trust in Game Freak ahead of this game coming out, and ahead of them eventually having, obviously the next full generation of core Pokemon role-playing games. This is obviously not that.
Right.
This is kind of an in-between game, but they've heard the noise, they've heard the complaints. I think they understand. I think they feel bad that they weren't able to deliver on what everybody wanted, probably what they wanted for that vision for that game. So I think they're really renewed and focused on let's show people what we're capable of. Let's really, we've had the time to dedicate to this, maybe more time than we planned, and really come out and wow people and just put all that conversation to rest.
I agree. I think that they definitely have they want to use this as a platform to really showcase those things. It's a very show not tell. They've definitely heard, they've had, very little in the way of recognition along the way when the fans were, us included, were just so disappointed in the performance of Scarlet and Violet. I think that they didn't say anything at the time because they were probably holding back to like really show us what they're capable of with ZA.
Yeah.
I think this is like a showpiece for that.
Yeah.
So I'm expecting them to have like very detailed gameplay trailers that show the quality of the game.
See how the game plays.
See how it runs.
Right. Just show some footage.
Show some really high quality, glitch free, you know, just really like polished.
Right. Because they know people are going to be picking this apart.
And people are, yes, exactly. The pixel hunters.
That tree looks weird. I don't like that tree over in the back. Yeah.
And they're very detail oriented, the Pokemon company, so they're going to be very careful about how every, you know, minuscule detail is going to show up in that game. The other thing that I was thinking about with ZA too is, you know, in between the big generational updates, like Pokemon Arceus was a huge hit, and they really have established these sort of secondary spin-off series as a way to be a little bit more creative, be a little bit more free with changing up the Pokemon formula. They've seen that people who have played Arceus have like really resonated with that, and like they're accepting of that. It's like you don't have to stick to like, you know, this little box that you built for yourself. You can have a little bit of creative freedom. So I think that they're going to push that.
Yeah.
With ZA as well. I'm hoping, because I want them to, because I really like that about Arceus. I want them to sort of push the formula of Pokemon games and use this spin-off as a way to really do that. And they can be a bit more traditional with the, you know, with Gen 10, but I think ZA will be a good way for them to like stretch their creative muscles and also show us how high quality this game is.
I totally agree with that. I think, you know, the way they look at the Legends series, or at least I hope after the first game, is like, this is our chance to break out of the box that we're in with kind of the core games and kind of push the limits of that and be a bit experimental.
Yeah, totally.
And, you know, see maybe what we might want to integrate into a future, you know, full-on core RPG in the future. You know, this game's potentially having an urban setting, which is really interesting.
Really different than Arceus, too.
Yeah. So I just expect them to be really kind of innovative, pushing boundaries, and I expect to be really impressed by this.
Me too, yeah.
I think we both loved Arceus.
I think that was my favorite Pokemon game
in a long time.
Of the last like 5 years, probably.
Yeah.
That's my number one. And I love that game, so I can't wait for us to, you know, just get more details around this. I do think we'll get a big chunk of information. We'll get like the basic plot. We'll get starters. Yeah. We'll get the protagonist. Maybe even some of the, you know, antagonists.
Right.
We'll get a really good look at like Loomis City, like what that all looks like, and probably a release date as well.
I think we get a release date as well, but what do you think it is?
I think it's fall.
I'm thinking later in the year as well. So we have Pokemon Arceus came out very early in the year.
January.
It came out like in January.
Yeah.
That was that weird year where they were just banging out these Pokemon games.
That was the year that got them off track.
That was really weird.
That was what happened. They kind of robbed Peter to pay Paul.
That was our last year at Nintendo, and I remember when they were like, we're going to have this and then this and then this. I was like, that's a lot. Why are we doing this?
It was like a weird pandemic thing too. Like we got jammed up.
Why not spread these out? But whatever.
Yeah, but that's what happened. Yeah. That's how they got into trouble.
Yeah. So a month that has always had a lot of Pokemon games in it is November. That is potentially pretty late for an original Switch game, but again, you think about it, it's like there's a lot of people who have a Switch. I think a lot of people are going to play it on a Switch too. You can still play it either way. It's a big enough deal for people to. I was like, I'll go back if I've already upgraded to Switch 2 and I'll want to play this.
You can still play it on your Switch 2. It'd just be a Switch 1 game.
And again, like they do often do this second Pokemon Presents later in the summer, so this gives them an option to do like an even bigger blowout.
Yeah.
They have a really long runway, and we know they love their rollout plans and pack those with all sorts of little details. So I think November could be a potential date for this.
I was thinking October, November. November is traditionally them.
They love November.
They love November, first week of November is like their favorite time ever to launch something. That's their preferred date. I can see them pushing it a little bit earlier because of what you said about Switch 1, maybe kind of winding down a bit, in the later parts of this year. But, Switch 2 is probably not going to come out until late summer anyway. So, if you were buying a Switch 2 and you were going to play this game, a Switch 1 game anyway, it's not like that far apart. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
I can see that. See that happening for this. But yeah, I'm looking forward to new details on this game. I'm really, really hyped for this game.
Yeah, me
so
too.
I can't wait, and I'm really glad that we're going to get to play this game this year.
Any other thoughts on this game?
No.
No. I've got some small stuff that I just kind of want to rattle off.
Sure.
More Pokemon Concierge that kind of came. There was so little that we got. It looked so cool. It was so neat.
I think it just takes them a long time to make those.
Right. They have confirmed that there's more of those on the way, and
Yes.
recently they've kind of been reconfirming that. So I'm thinking, let's get a glimpse of the next season of Pokemon Concierge.
I loved it.
It's cool. It's cool. It's fine.
It's a sleepy time show.
Not a huge thing. In the whole kind of laundry list of mobile games that they have to do, I do think they'll kind of take a bit more time with Pokemon TCG Pocket.
Yeah.
Because that game has been such
a
big hit, maybe even more than they expected.
Yeah,
so I do think they'll take a chance to kind of outline more changes, more expansions that are coming for that, because you kind of need to feed the beast at this point.
Right. I have a question for you on that, actually.
Oh.
So they have gotten a lot of flack recently for their for the trading in Pokemon TCG Pocket. Do you think they use any time in this presents to like update the trading?
Not a second to talk about this.
I was gonna say the same thing. Like,
No,
I don't think they're gonna be.
So that was kind of in the moment, like, oh, we screwed up kind of realization that they had, and I think it's good that they're going to change it, but the change could still be bad, so it's still an opportunity for a negative.
For people to be negative.
And I think they lock the content for this pretty far in advance.
Yep.
So like at the time that happened, which is still relatively recent, they'd be like, well, we'll do this on social later.
Yeah, this is what I think too. I think there's rumblings. People are like, oh, there's going to be a big update, on Pokemon Pocket, and they're going to update all the things that we hated about trading. I don't think that's happening.
This is not the time or place for that.
Exactly.
No,
But I do think they're going to be talking about this. They're going to be adding stuff. They want you to keep like engaging, like keep playing, and not like forget about the app, so they want you to do that.
Yeah.
And I do think the Eevee stuff will be a good way for them to do that. So
totally.
the Eevee stuff will definitely roll into
more Eevee stuff
for
there.
sure. Will roll into TCG Pocket.
We did have in the last couple days a potential leak that I think
that's right. Yes.
is worth talking about. Old Puro is back.
Sort of.
Somehow still kicking from beyond the grave, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so.
So as part of the big Pokemon leak that happened last year, there was this game called Synapse.
Yeah, codename Synapse.
Right, codename Synapse that was included in that was, I guess, a multiplayer-oriented game, and it was going to be made by this kind of new team made up of people from Ilka, Game Freak, that the Pokemon company had put together. Sounds like it was going to be a game for Switch and phones, kind of together. Pura has been hinting that this is going to be included in the Pokemon Presents. I guess there's some like footage of this that's out, like very early test footage of this that's out.
It's probably something from that big Giga leak that happened.
Exactly.
Yeah. Or Terra leak, whatever.
From what we know, it's hard to tell how excited we should be getting about this. I mean, a multiplayer-focused Pokemon game, like that's cool, but is it just going to become one of these many other mobile games that we have, or is it really like pushing things forward in a cool new way that everybody's going to want to get in on? I don't know. But if that's there, I could see that being some sort of a shadow drop. Like, oh, and this is coming out later today, and it's like this free-to-play kind of thing.
Yeah, I kind of feel like it's the, that side of it. It's more like the mobile free-to-play, like a smaller multiplayer experience versus it being like, here's the new,
here's the next big thing.
This is the World of Warcraft for Pokemon. Like, I don't see I don't see it being like this massive like MMO that's going to be based on Pokemon IP.
Yeah.
That would be cool though. Maybe you should work on that.
One day.
One day, yeah. But I don't think it's going to be that. I think, if anything, if it comes at all, it would be sort of a smaller, mobile experience or some kind of almost like a Pokemon Unite-ish level kind of thing. And Pokemon Unite's
pretty awesome.
Pretty
actually.
awesome, yeah. So we might be surprised. Sometimes like they announce these things, and like you and I were kind of like, mobile game.
They can be hit or miss.
Like it could be hit or miss, but we both love that.
There have been hits of those for sure.
And so this could be a hit too.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I have on my list of what I think is going to be in this.
What is definitely
I have a list of things that I don't think are going to be in there.
I have a list.
Do you want to go straight to those then?
I do, actually.
Okay.
I do.
Let's talk about those.
So the long rumored red, blue, yellow. Not
coming to NSO, you mean?
Coming to NSO.
Or there's also a rumor of like some retro all-in-one package.
Yeah, some sort of pack.
Yes.
I do not think this is coming.
That feels like a great 30th anniversary thing
That's
to do.
what I said. I was thinking about this, and I was like, oh gosh, every year I wish for this because I think it's cool. And we were talking about how it was great during the 20th anniversary when they released it on 3DS, but and of course those are gone. But this feels very 30th anniversary to me. Like anything to celebrate the nostalgia of Pokemon, they're going to save that chip for that moment.
You've got to bet that Nintendo also is like, why don't you wait until the Switch 2's out? That's a great way to juice those NSO subs on the new platform.
Yes.
Make sure those people are signing up.
And you can really sell them on the nostalgia. You can sell them on, and it's just a great anniversary time because it is actually the anniversary of the games.
Yes.
Not just like random Pokemon stuff. It's the actual games of themselves.
Exactly.
So what a perfect tie-in to that, right?
Right.
Yes.
It's utterly ridiculous that these games are not out and
fine.
legitimately playable in any which way. But when we start to think of like what would make sense for them to actually bring them back
strategically,
next year makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
And maybe they'll blow it out even a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe they'll blow it out, right? That would be cool. I like that.
Okay.
I don't think there's going to be any sort of mention of any like big movies. Like I don't think the next like Detective Pikachu or anything in the same sort of level as like a Mario movie. I don't think any of that is happening this year.
Yeah, I agree. Like whenever we would hear rumblings about a sequel to Detective Pikachu, it's always like, oh, it's in kind of rough shape, or they needed to start over. Ryan Reynolds got a million other things going on at the moment.
He's a little busy right now.
He's got his own problems at the moment.
Yeah.
So I tend to agree. It just doesn't feel like anything big in terms of a big Hollywood movie or like a major new TV show.
Exactly. Maybe updates to some of the ones that are already there.
I mean, like
the Horizons anime is really popular.
More we might get a little snippet about that. But as far as like the big next thing, nah.
Yeah. No. Like I don't see like a big like we have our own sort of like DreamWorks Illumination,
right.
Disney, whatever big animated partnership or a big blockbuster movie. I don't see that in the cards for them right now. And the last thing I have is that they will not be teasing Gen 10 at all.
We had very similar predictions this time. Wow.
Really smart.
I mean, Gen
10 is not happening, guys.
They just don't need to.
Exactly.
Because they have this big new game in ZA that they want people to pay attention to and get excited for. So they'll put the focus on that, and they'll give that the chance to be in the spotlight.
Right.
And then with the next generation, they've got the 30th anniversary. What better thing to cap off that?
Yeah, launch Gen 10 during the 30th anniversary.
Right, and just hammer that for all of 2026 when that game comes out at the end of the year on the Switch 2. Oh, it's our big debut on the Switch 2.
Yeah, that's a November Switch 2 game in 2026. Right,
there's just a lot of reasons why it's like you don't need to do that. I mean, we're all curious, but from their perspective, like I don't know if you don't need to do this right now.
They also learn this is like a lesson learned situation.
It's a hot stove. It's hot.
Don't touch it.
Yeah.
It's don't be distracted.
I'm gonna touch it. Ow, it's still hot.
You're like a child, like a 4-year-old. Can't control yourself or something. But it's like it's one of those things where they probably learn the lesson. Like if we try to bite off too much, it becomes a problem. We need to keep not only the fans really focused on the thing that we want them to be focused on, but we need to keep ourselves focused too.
Exactly.
Like you don't need to have the crazy ADD when it comes to making all these big games.
The matrix of Pokemon games that are coming out in the imminent future.
You don't need it. Yeah. People are gonna love Pokemon.
Right.
You're not gonna fall out of the zeitgeist. It's okay. It's fine. So I feel like it's gonna be sort of like a mid-tier-ish Pokemon Presents. I'm not expecting like jaw-dropping news.
I think it hinges on what we see of ZA. My expectations are very high.
Mine are too.
And I'm expecting to be impressed by it.
But I think I will be.
Yeah.
I think I will be impressed by it. Like I'm very trusting that they are going to show us something that we're going to love with ZA. So I'm really excited to see that. I know that's going to be a big focus for this, and all the other little wrappers around it. The EV stuff, the updates. I mean, we play a lot of these offshoot Pokemon stuff.
We do.
We play Unite. We play TCG Pocket. I play Cafe Remix sometimes still. Yeah. So we're like kind of in the universe of stuff. So these updates will kind of like be exciting, even if it's not like a full game thing. Yeah. So I'm expecting like a pretty solid Pokemon Presents.
Nice.
Great. All right. What do you guys think? What are your predictions? Did you think there's going to be some like crazy bomb that's going to drop?
Pal World lawsuits announced. And one more thing.
Pal!
Our general counsel is here to make some announcements.
The hot CFO is just going to walk over there with like handcuffs.
A gavel, yeah.
Put them in their own jail that they have. Yeah,
exactly.
All right. Tell us in the comments what you think. We will see you very soon as we react to the Pokemon Presents on Thursday.
Yeah.
And yeah, happy Pokemon Day, everybody. Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.